This is Tell Me Something Good About Retail with Bob Phibbs, the Retail Doctor. The champion for a more human connection in retail for over 30 years as a retail doctor. Bob is the authority on brick-and-mortar retail across the world, who works with some of the biggest luxury brands to independent retailers of all sizes.
Welcome to this episode of Tell Me Something Good About Retail. Rebecca Weirda runs Leigh's Fashions, a luxury women's specialty store in Grand Rapids, Michigan. She's not just focused on beautiful clothes, she's laser focused on her team's performance and customer experience. And when June sales were flat, Rebecca rolled up her sleeves and met with every staff member to ignite their passion. We're going to find out more about that and what makes retail great on this episode of Tell Me Something Good About Retail. Rebecca, thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm a huge fan of yours, and we've been with you for 5 years now, and it's just been such a great investment into my business. And so I attribute our 4 record years of success to you, and in having my staff deliver just a really consistent service level and exceptional experience.
Well, we could end the podcast there, and you can find out more. That's really is gratifying, though. I mean, your sales have gone up consistently for 4 years, and I want to find out about that. But take us back a little bit. Tell us a little about Leigh's and kind of brands you represent. Who's your woman, and how'd you get started in retail?
Yeah, so Lee's is a 13,000 square foot store. So we are a big store. We're actually celebrating our 50th anniversary, and I've owned the store for the last 20 years. And we cater to a really broad audience. So, for example, at Christmas, I had the grandmother, the mother, the daughter, and the granddaughter all here in my store and all being able to shop and find something fabulous for themselves. So we carry from that contemporary price point all the way to designer price point, where like a Christian Louboutin shoe or a Burberry. But on the other side, I don't think luxury is necessarily a price point. It's best in class. So I carry UGG slippers because I think they're best in class. So you can see that the price point is very broad. And what we really want to do is cater to that woman and find what's best for her personal style and complete the entire look.
Nice. So 20 years ago, what makes you decide to jump into women's apparel? Because we're right around 9/11, right around that time, right? You're either right after or right before.
Yeah, I just hit it at the perfect time, right? Well, the opportunity presented itself, and I came from a corporate America background, so actually not fashion. I came from the staffing world, but all P&L entrepreneurial, and always loved fashion and considered myself a fashion girl. But certainly, I think retailing, there's a lot of nuances to it, right? In terms of inventory management and the buying aspect of it. But I had a really great team that embraced me and brought me along. And so that was kind of how I jumped into it.
So had you worked in retail before? Was that something you did like in high school or college or?
Yep, I sure did. All of the above. So yes, I did do that. And
Department store, give me a little more information. So you started a department store, a little, pet shop.
I started at a denim store. I sold denim, and I was number 1 salesperson in denim, at the store in sales. And I just remember always like never judging a book by the cover. When I would have people come in, and everybody would kind of be like, they're not going to buy anything. They don't look like they're going to buy anything. And I'd be like right there. And sure enough, they'd be buying their whole family jeans, and I'd have the high sale for the month and get all these accolades from this company. So it was really fun. So I think I learned the roots of that in the beginning. And then then when I went into the corporate world, just leveraging that sales experience, I was selling then too. So I'm really a big advocate of the salesperson, and if you have successful salespeople, you're going to have a successful business. But having a small store, so we're going from 2 corporate settings to having now my own small business. what for me was there was no consistency. It's just like everybody, the performer owner, just people went on the selling floor and here, go do the best you can. And I looked for years and years for like, okay, I need something in place so that we deliver a consistent experience. And I'll tell you, I searched and searched, and it was really hard to find something until I stumbled into you.
No,
And at a luxury level. I mean, I think that's the other thing, that I think, you know, person that walks in our store, the bar is this high and you have to hit this high. And if you hit here, you're probably going to have a bad Google review. Whereas, there's other stores, department stores that, people walk in and the thing, their bar is down here. And if they come in here, nobody cares because they expect it to be a poor experience.
That's a really interesting point because your sales chops informed everything. I think that's kind of the same with me, is that I learned early on that if I did more, I got more. And
Hmm.
so you get hungry for that. And I think, you must have other retailers who come to you all the time and say, oh, it's not working. And oh, it must be somebody over there. It must be somebody over there, right? They almost be on Amazon. But to your point, if you're selling luxury, you don't have that. You don't get that choice, right? You got a
Yeah.
lot of merch to move.
Yeah. And you know what? And I just don't subscribe to that. I think the energy you give off is what you get back. And I think you I like to think we curate a really great assortment, but if you looked hard enough, you could probably buy it online someplace, right? So I really believe that people walk in the door because they want an experience. So we compete on experience rather than on merchandise. So just like, like you said, like at Christmas, everyone's like, oh, people want experiences. They want to go on a hot air balloon ride or whatever it is. People if they choose to go to dinner, they want to go to dinner someplace where they have a lovely experience, right? And that's the same when they come into Lee's. They're looking for an experience and they're looking to be delighted. And so yes, you could go buy it online, but you're going to come to Lee's because you're going to get this amazing experience and you're going to feel special. And if you choose to spend your money here, I'm going to make sure you feel really good about it. Because regardless if you're spending $20, $2,000, $20,000, you know what? You worked hard for that money. And so I feel super honored that you chose to spend that here at Lee's because you could have gone and bought it online. And so, anyways, so all those people say, "Oh, I'm the
Well,
internet."
I love that
I just don't
because
buy it. I,
you hold yourself to a different standard. We're going to talk about what prompted us to be on this podcast with your June.
yes.
But I think, the thing that impresses me is I think you sell outfits and you sell events. You're not going and just saying, oh yeah, we're selling a shoe or something, right? Your team knows it's about building that woman's wardrobe, right?
Yeah, and it's about building a relationship too, so that you know the ins and outs of what she's going to look for. And when she comes in, I think everybody wants, when they go shopping, they want to have fun, right? That's this should be fun. It's fashion, it's beauty. It should always
So
be fun. So, and now,
I want you to
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say they want you to anticipate. So you walk in and you have a fitting room already set for them with things they're going to love. I mean, that's pretty special, right? You went above and beyond. You didn't just go, oh, go browse around and let me know what you want to try on. No, you suggested things. You already have outfits put together for them, things like that. I think it's
That's a lot
great.
of confidence because I think there's an awful lot. Retail stores have never looked prettier. It's that simple. I mean, the big designer boutiques and certainly certain types of luxury stores right now. But when you go in, I don't think I see anyone having fun when they're shopping. I think there should be a fun meter because to your point, as you're saying that, I'm like, well, I'd like to have fun when I'm shopping, right? Because somebody's giving you permission to treat yourself. It's almost like you already know it, but you want someone to validate it,
Yeah.
and then to have fun with it. So I'm going to ask you to go a little different though for this next question. So how do stores miss it? Right. So if that's the mark, and you've said we've got to be above, what are the most common things that you see that retailers, shoot themselves in the foot with because they're not looking at the right things?
Yeah, I think, well, I can tell you. So kind of, I guess, talking a little bit about our sales were down in June, and we just weren't having the first half of the year just wasn't great for us. And I'll tell you, we were flat. Like the energy in our store was flat. It was almost mechanical. It was just, ho hum, and people feel that. They feel when you're selling team. I think you'd have a say, good morning, or you can be like, good morning, and that starts the whole conversation off, right? What kind of energy do you have? So I think that, yeah, I think flat or just disengaged. I mean, the number one thing, if I don't give very many bad Google reviews, but if I do, it's no one greeted me. Like, is your staff looking the other way, not paying attention? That's the number one thing, would be just not paying attention to your
Now
customer.
you have luxury vendors you're dealing with. I mean, they must appreciate the care that you give to their product, right? Compared to other places. Do you have a high bar for vendors you work with? And if so, what's that bar look like?
Yeah, I think, to have some of the brands that we have, we go through a whole vetting process, and where they want images of our store, they want to know about our selling team, what other brands we have, how are they going to be positioned, so it's not just like, hey, we're going to go knock on the door of Burberry and say we want to sell Burberry. There's a whole thing that I have to go into with them and meet with them, and before they're going to open distribution with us. So we take that very seriously, and the team, and when we do, we are fortunate to get distribution with them. We take, let's just say, we're not throwing boxes out on the floor or wrinkly clothes on the floor. It's all going to be steamed out and look luxurious. We have beautiful wooden hangers, the spacing, and the zoning, all of that needs to look the part. And even on our merchandise that's less, an easier price point, I mean, it still speaks volumes to who you are as a store and how much you care about your
that's
store.
that's interesting. Some stores have gone through it and they've taken all of their, instead of having all their real severe markdowns and shipping them off to someone, now they have that in their own department, somewhere in the department store. And it's just such a I don't know, terrible garage sale to look at on the sales floor. And I just kind of think, do you realize that's part of the same image? You're part of the same company. And I loved your part about you're not going to see just boxes thrown in the aisles, like just waiting to pick it up. But
Yeah.
hey, that takes an awful lot. And again, you've been with Sales RX for 5 years, and we appreciate the fact that you've had 4 record-breaking goals. So let's take a step back and tell me, what was the first half of this year, and bring us into it, and then you tell me about how you fix it. But what were you noticing as the owner?
Yeah, so it was so our so like I said, we were seeing decreases in sales, which is not our norm. And then it just kept being a little bit more and a little bit more. And I would hear people say to me, "Oh, you can't expect to have, at some point the record years have got to end, and you have to have a reset." And I took it upon myself these last few years. I always make reinvestments in my business. And one of the things I reinvested in was my team. So making sure their wages are strong, only hiring stars. So being super patient in my hiring, and then also being quick to fire. So those people are super negative. We're just we'll coach and mentor, but we're going to let you go if you're going to harm our culture. But anyways, so I hear all this little like, oh, it's a reset. It's just your reset year. And I'm trying to suck it up and be like, okay, it's a reset year. But then June came in double digits off, and that's just not okay. So it was interesting. It is my sister. She has a 12-year-old boy, and I had no idea that this was going to be my analogy, but I sat every team member down and I told them this story because I thought it was perfect for what was happening in my store with my selling team. And he's a very smart boy. He's in an accelerated classroom. And at the end of each year, you have to take a test on new material to see if you can stay in that accelerated program for the upcoming year. My brother-in-law set aside all this study time for him. And the test, you have to get 70% or more to stay in the accelerated program. So John knows this, 70% is the mark. Well, he finally goes and he takes his test and he comes home and he's really excited. He goes, I got 72%. And my sister and brother-in-law are mortified because he's so smart. He could have got 100%. And he didn't. So they're like, John, what happened? 72%? And he goes, well, why do you care? I'm still in accelerated program. They're like, you could have got 100. Why 72? He's like, well, because I only studied 70% of the material. So let's just look at that. If it's a 100-page book, he read 70 pages. He didn't even bother with another 30 pages. And so
I like this guy already. But anyway, yeah. It's like, I get how he would have gotten there. So yeah.
So he's that smart to know that that's really all he had to put in to get the minimum result. And I felt like that was exactly what my selling team was doing. They were putting in the minimum effort to get the minimum results. And guess what? That wasn't good enough, right? That was clipping away at our sales and causing us to. And I was really frank. I think the other thing that I've learned from you, Bob, is you've be straight with people and tell them, right? And so, I was very straightforward, nice, but straightforward. Like, this is not okay. We should be giving 100, and now we're going to have to start giving 110, 120% to get this back. But if you're telling me that, hey, we're going to have a reset on our sales and we're going to go back to whatever it is, 21 levels or 22 levels, that's fine. But my operating expenses plus X amount of growth for the next few years, because I've invested in team and salary. So either the sales need to increase, which would make me really happy because I love all of your little faces and I love coming to work and working with all of you. But it's okay if sales are going to be down, then we're going to have to make some revisions to our staffing levels because that's our number one expense. And I will tell you, like, everyone took it very seriously. I mean, I don't ever. I haven't had to have those types of conversations because we've been just, kicking butt and taking names for the last 4 years. But my team rallied like you would not believe. And July is usually the softest month of the year for us because, we're sale mode and all of that. We had a 42% increase. We not only brought back all of June sales earlier in the year, and I was just amazed. This team, the energy, the positivity, the suggestive selling, the client reach out. I mean, they gave it 100 and they gave it 200%. And it was electric. It was so much fun. And I think our customers felt that. And so we were selling like cashmere sweaters and suede, and it's 95 degrees outside. But it was awesome. It
That
was
is
so much
just such a
fun.
great story, and that's why we're on the podcast here, because the whole idea of it should be fun does need somebody to look at it and say, but it doesn't feel fun, and the numbers are
Mhm.
reflecting it. And I love the way that you said you could feel the difference, because that's always, I think, I always say we people who feel they matter buy, and those who don't walk. It's that simple. But you've got to earn the trust to be able to sell the merchandise, right? So it's not like, we've all gone into those stores where someone read a book or someone had this one idea, and you walk in the door and it's like, oh, did you see this? We just got. I don't know who this works for, but it's really upsetting. Please get away from me, right? That desperation where in their eyes they're just like, oh my God, you must buy something. And I think the other way that you're lifting up here today is just having that conversation, because I would imagine all of your seasoned staff, as you're saying that to them, is kind of like, she's right. I did kind of phone it in. You're like, yeah.
You know what? And honestly, yes, they no one disagreed with me, and that's telltale. And I have, and I think the other thing, good thing to do is, as the leader or the owner or your management team, you have to have some self-reflection too. Like, was I giving 100%? What was I giving out? Because was what my team giving out just a reflection of of my maybe not, giving it my all. So, I really also, I was out on the sales floor, selling and all that. Just, we're gonna do this shoulder to shoulder and get this done. So, and just on the comment you said about, this, I don't believe in pushy sales at all. I want you to sell things to people that they love and that they're going to feel good in. Um, and I think if you create a great atmosphere and experience, and they're going to buy it, and you're going to have great sales because you did your job. And they're not going to buy it if you try to push something on them that they don't need or that doesn't.
Absolutely. We're going to be right back with some more insights from Rebecca in just a minute. But first, a word from SalesRx, my online retail sales training framework that has turned more shoppers into buyers around the world. Hey, it's Bob again. I'm not only your host, but also the founder of the SalesRx online retail sales training program. How many sales that should have been yours walked out your front doors today? With shoppers being more discerning about where and when they shop, you need to convert more lookers to buyers. And SalesRx is the perfect solution to make training memorable. It's bite-sized, it can fit easily into your schedules. Don't tell me you don't have time to train. If you can give them time to take a break, you have time for them to train. Now, the training builds from some of the quickest ways to engage shoppers to the most advanced. Everything is planned so you can implement your sales training program with a click of a button. And there's a reason we're on 4 continents training thousands, because SalesRx is scalable. Everybody learns the same new skills that will grow your sales. In fact, 83% of users report a double-digit increase in their sales within 6 months. Wouldn't you like that to be your story? Visit SalesRx to learn more and set up a call with me to see how we can help. That's SalesRx.com. Now back to the broadcast. All right, we're back with Rebecca Weirda with Leigh's Fashions in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So tell me, so we've come through this amazing month, 42% up. A lot of people are saying, oh, but tariffs, that other foot is about to drop. We're all kind of, what's Q4 going to be? It really must be for all. I mean, it certainly is for me as the retail doc, but I would imagine for any retailer, it really is there for us, right? So how do you cope with all of that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be what it's going to be, right? So you can either focus on what you can't control, or you can focus on what you can control. So I tend to believe, guess what? We're going to have to sell merchandise that's higher price point. It's just the way it is. Um, and if you think you can't sell it, you can't sell it. If you think you can sell it, you can sell it. So I think that is really an important thing on the news all the time. And you may have customers talking about it all the time, but we're not going to talk about it here on the floor. We're not going to bring it up. We're just going to show you these most fabulous garments or shoes or accessories that we brought in that we think are perfect for you. And I don't think 10% is going, or 15% is going to deter somebody from buying that if our selling team is doing their job right.
And, I was curious, what is your follow-up process with your sales folks? Like if I buy something from you, Louis Vuitton, I guess they guess Louis Vuitton. No, Louis Vuitton. It's like, it's a red soul.
Yeah.
Red soul. Louboutin. I think they have men's shoes. They've come out with men's shoes now too. I've seen in a few places. But what is your follow up with people? Is it just kind of like, oh, thanks for stopping in? How do you hold on to these people? Because let's face it, you probably got the well, in the old days we call it a Rolodex, but you probably have the customer information that is the envy of anybody in their neighborhood. So what do you do with it? How do you get it to begin with, and then what do you do with it?
Yeah, so we actually, I think there's a big part of your training that is about, capturing this information, because if you can't capture it, how can you get them to come back to your store? So I think when we started with you, we at best captured 50% of information. And we could pull a mailing list or an email list, and all of a sudden, like 50% of them are gone. So we've improved that dramatically. And it's part of our training process on how you ask to get people excited. So first, for the new customer, I personally call each new customer and thank them for shopping locally with me. And
Wow.
I ask them about their experience, if there's anything they'd like to share with me, and just a follow-up. And I'll tell you, that is so, people are like, first they think I'm calling for something, like what does she want? You hear this reservation, that calling for shopping locally and supporting my small business, and let you know how much I appreciate that. And then all of a sudden they're just like, wow, like this is really a nice touch. And then I do a follow-up letter, and then my salesperson does a follow-up. So we try to touch them 3 times to get them to come back in the store, because we think 3 times is when it creates a. So we do that. And then after that, then we are salespeople regularly on a monthly basis following up. Unless, somebody, hey, I'm only going to shop you twice a year, call me in June, call me in November, or something like that. But we keep track of it all so that we can do those follow-up calls, or when something comes in. Our selling team sells a lot from their phone, just sending pictures, hey, thought of you, this just came in. So rather than waiting for, I always say, we should not be waiting for the business to walk through the door. We need to make it rain ourselves. And so that means each and every salesperson needs to be having, at least 20 contacts a day. And maybe somebody comes in on your day off, you generated a sale, and if they're doing their 20, they might be off, and you might get that, that rain that they created. And so anyway, so that's kind of our way of making sure we get people back in.
That's a great way to think of it, and I'm glad that you're not in the up system and, oh, she's off today, well, I'll come back tomorrow. Oh no, because when they're in the store, they're there to buy. You want to make sure that everybody feels like you could have, I'm sure everybody wants to be waited on by Rebecca, right? Because it's like, oh, well, who's the owner? And you're like, well, I can't do it all. And I want to go back before, because we're almost at our time here. You've been gracious with your time today. I loved your idea. We only hire stars.
Hmm.
What does that mean? How do you find those stars? Like, do you know right away, like, this is not a star, or this could be a star, or you go out and sneak them from somebody else? I mean, how does this? Well, you probably can't say that, but I would. But yeah, if you have a really good
Yeah, but
experience.
well, I will say this. Before the pandemic, I'll call them rain clouds. We had some rain clouds in our midst. Negative, was kind of stirring the pot. And I can honestly say I didn't enjoy coming to work every day because these people, I mean, they weren't enjoyable to work with. And I'm sure my customers didn't enjoy working with them. So Michigan was closed down for, I think, 9 weeks. Our business was completely closed. And when I was able to reopen, I only hired those positive people who were really hard workers. And we brought the business through the pandemic. And so I made a commitment to them that I would only hire stars and only hire people that added to our positive culture. And so we're super patient in our hiring. And, you know, I don't want just a, a placemaker,
Can
to
you say
take
that
a
one
shift.
again
I'd
for
rather
us?
work the shift
You're getting a
myself
little.
than to
Can you
have
say that?
that
Can you
person.
say that one? Can you say that one again? We're getting a little wonky on your end for some reason, and I'm not sure if the recording is going to pick you up on your end or
Oh,
it's mine. But just start that again. We're really picky about. You're really patient about hiring, and then just go from there.
yeah, so very patient. So I don't just want a place marker as an employee, somebody who this is going to fill a shift. I'd rather work shift myself than to have that, and I think the rest of my team members are the same. So we look for people who have experience or industries that are similar that have the same pace. But we actually now will do a working interview where we have them come in like on the second interview and spend a couple hours with the team and just see how they interact and are they you know positive or are they negative? Do they take initiative or not? And so kind of look for those things. And as we've grown our culture to be this really great energy, we've attracted people like that have this crazy experience to work here, and they are just superstars. Like either their experience and they come in and they hit the ground running. And obviously we Lee'sify them, we do the Lee's way. But yeah, being very patient. And then, like I said, on the other side, if somebody's a drag on your culture, I don't care how productive they are for you, they're going to erode your business. Other people are going to leave. You're not going to be able to grow your business if you have people who erode your culture.
Boy, I can't agree with that more. The other thing, I think you're passionate about training. You don't look at training as a once and done. I think that's one of the other hallmarks of a great entrepreneur. There's always something else I can look at. There's always something we can do better, and being real strict about it. Right? I mean, I think you've been strict with Sales Rx since day one. You've been with us for 5 years. You've had
Yeah.
4 record-breaking years in a row. This might be the fifth. I
Yeah.
don't know many retailers that can say that about women's apparel. How does training fit into that? How does
I,
that?
I think it I think it's the most important part. And I I personally train each of the employees. So with the sales RX, because I want them to hear the same stories, know what my standards are. And it is a time commitment. I'm not going to discount that. I've got a lot of things to do, but you know what? That is the most important part because once I put somebody on the selling floor to interact with my customers, I know how they've been trained. I know what they've heard from you. I know what they've heard from me, and I know they're ready to go. And so I want them to feel confident, and I want our customers to, again, have that consistent Lee's experience.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, that's amazing. Well, you've been great with your time today, my friend. I have one last question for you to ask everybody on the podcast. Please tell me something good about retail.
I love retail. I don't think there's anything bad about retail. I mean, it is, you know what? It is what you make it. And if you decide this is retail's fantastic, I think it is. And so coming to work every day, working with merchandise, you have clients that are interesting, get to know them. They have us to share back. And our team has hired interesting people. And they have a lot of interesting things to share too. So I think it's just, yeah, I'm having a blast.
I can tell that, and I love that. And we're going to look forward to an update on this story at the end of the year when you're looking back and you're like, well, no, there was no bad time in 2025. We have our 50th record year. So thanks for joining us today, Rebecca. You were an inspiration to us all. Thanks again.
Thanks. Yeah. You know what, Bob? I just want to say one thing. So at the end of the year, when we're toasting with our champagne, I'll send you a video of our record year.
I want to see that. I want to see that, my friend. Thanks so much.
You've been listening to Tell Me Something Good About Retail with Bob Phibbs, the Retail Doctor. As a listener, you can receive free information and guides when you visit retaildoc.com and sign up for our exclusive weekly newsletter. Thanks for being with us. Remember to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you like to get your podcasts. To virtually bring Bob to all of your crew and associates, check out www.salesrx.com.